Work hard for what you want in life.
You work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're going to do.
That your word is your bond, and you do what you say.
That you treat people with dignity and respect.
That you treat people with respect.
Reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard.
The strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Work hard. Work hard. Work hard.
Hey guys, I'm Tatum.
It's your girl Milan.
And welcome to episode 51 of the Black Girl Boss Podcast. So we're getting towards we're pretty much at the end of the year. It's about a couple weeks left in 2017. And this is like a time period where everybody is really like reflective. Everybody is setting their intentions and their goals, etc. for 2018. And I thought that, and this is also because it's the holidays, this is a time where a lot of people aren't necessarily in the best spirits either, because it may be some things going on with their families. You just never know, really. So a lot of people, the holidays aren't a happy time. So I think it's a appropriate time for us to really talk about spirituality in business, because I got a DM not too long ago from somebody who was saying how they can see like the growth, I say growth with an F, the growth and be spiritually over the last year. So like kind of listening to the podcast, and even people in my life have been saying that, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it, because again, this show, we really talk about things as they're happening, really talking about the struggles, the nitty gritty of things. And a fact for me right now is I'm a Christian and I'm an entrepreneur, and that comes with a lot of internal battles. So I really wanted to talk about this. And I posted something on my Instagram as I was chilling. And I kind of I'm going to read the caption that I posted, and then that'll kind of start our discussion today. So I wrote, I'm a Black girl boss, but God is really my boss. This year, I have given God my all, my time, my money, my business, my life. I took my hands off of the steering wheel and trusted God to do his thing. My entire life, I've been consistently inconsistent with my relationship with God. I've said I have faith, but still tried to do everything myself. Prayed for things, but didn't want to do my part, which is obedience, in order for what I was praying for to come to pass. I was treating God like that person you only talk to when you need something, and treating the devil like that person who you know is no good for you, but you tend to keep them around anyway. My walk with God this year has disrupted everything I'm comfortable with, but resulted in one of the best years in my life. I don't have anxiety anymore. I have a profitable business that I'm able to do on a full-time basis. My friends and family are experiencing breakthroughs. My edges are intact. My skin is clear, and the list goes on. With all of the uncomfortability that comes with obedience, but has also come peace and so many blessings in my life. God has truly revealed to me what my 2018 has in store. And if I'm being real, it's almost unbelievable the levels I'm going to skip that most people struggle to reach. But I know it's a result of my prayers, my weekly fasting, my turning down opportunities and clients because he told me to, and the list goes on. And let's see if I care to read the rest of it. No, not really. It's a little long. But anyway, I just was really reflective this week about just my relationship with God thus far. So, I even prayed before we got on here, because I don't take talking about God lightly, especially to large groups of people. Like, it may just be us here, but when this podcast goes out, like, it's no telling who is going to listen to it. So I don't take it lightly. So I did pray before we came on here, but I really wanted to talk about this, because it's just really been on my heart a lot to talk about. So that's why I know it has to be discussed on the podcast. So let's start it off with, let me just ask you, how have you grown as a entrepreneur and as a Christian? It could be this year, it could be in general. Just how have you grown?
Yeah, so this year, speaking in the spiritual terms, I told so many people when I talked to them, like, my goal for this year was really to get into my Bible. Everybody was like, oh, definitely go to Bible study and everything. And I'm like, I know how I was in school when people trying to explain stuff to me. Sometimes it's just better for me to kind of like sit, read stuff on my own and understand it. Because you can tell me, but I wanted to really feel it myself. And not saying that, of course, Bible study doesn't do that for people or can't have the same effect, but that was just my personal thing. I really wanted to have that connection and learn it on my own. So I was looking up the different versions of the Bible, like, of course, the King James Version that we all know. And that was always my struggle point with the King James Version, because there's so many comeths and goeths and certain words in there. And I'm like, okay, by that point, I'm like, okay, this is a lot. So I started reading like the Messenger version of it, and that was so much better for me. And it still gives you the same concept, but it's explaining it as well. So I loved that version that I was reading. When this year started, I knew the transition that I wanted to have in business. I knew the transition I wanted to see in my life and everything. So of course I prayed about things, happening. I just wanted God to give me the clear eye, a clear mind on what needed to be done, and really putting me in perspective and in focus. So I don't know when it happened. I really don't remember the month, the day, the time, or anything, but I literally had just stopped getting my hair done. Like, I get my hair done, don't get me wrong, but as much as I used to every 2 weeks, no, you'd be lucky if I get my hair done every 2 months or in that time frame, because I just really just gave it up. And normally for me, that would have been one of them things that's like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I don't have my hair done. Like, I would be tripping. But my hair wasn't done and everything, and I was just so calm. It was one of those transitions that, you know how when you transition into something and you're kind of struggling and it's like, oh my God, this is so hard for me. It wasn't one of those things. And my hair being done was my thing. It had to be done. I don't care what the situation was. I don't care if I didn't have anything to do. My hair still had to be done. But the transition was just so careless and just so smooth. I had no care in the world that it wasn't done. It didn't affect me. I'm like, okay, well, slick back one. Okay, a braid out. Okay, a wash and go, whatever. I didn't care. Then it was my nails that was next. And all women, we know our nails, if you get your nails done, you get fillings and all that stuff. As soon as your filling starts to come down and looking crazy, you're stressing. You are tripping. So, I was looking at my nails, and my nails just slowly needing to fill in, slowly starting to lift up a little bit on the side. And I'm just looking at it oh, well, okay, well, now I'm going to get my nails done. So it was certain things like that I started giving up and started becoming comfortable with.
What made you give those things up, though? Was it financially? What was the tipping point?
I knew I had to save money, just because I was really dedicating all money to business and just becoming older, just becoming more responsible. I knew something had to give, but those things were just unconscious. That's what I'm saying. It just happened. It wasn't even a thought maybe I should cut back on getting my nails and hair done. But I say that to say, in my opinion, those were two of the most important things that I would spend money on. And it wasn't a thought in my head to do that, because like I said, those were the two most important things. If that's the case, I was going to figure out a way to stop eating out so much.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I wasn't going to, buy clothes that much or whatever the case may be. But those being the two most, but I say that to say, I asked God to give me guidance and to give me a clear head and to show me what I needed to do. Okay. So I say that to say, when I reflect back on it, I asked him to put me in that mindset, to give me that, and it happened unconsciously. Because like I said, I would have never, planned to not get my hair and nails done on my own, because I didn't feel like I had that type of, literally that type of strength to sit there and say, oh yeah, I can't get my hair done. What? It took me a long time after having dyed my hair breaking off and everything, and cutting my hair short and growing my hair back, getting it really to this such a healthy state. I would have never thought about doing anything that could even potentially jeopardize my hair stepping out of being healthy. Granted, my hair is still healthy. There's nothing wrong with it, because now I know how to take care of my hair. But that was never in my mind. I personally would have never done it. And I definitely saw that, and I speak on that all the time, because I think that was just so crazy, and I had no problem with it. So fast forwarding, throughout the year and everything, excuse me, everything, relationships, people that's in my life, business movements, I'm like, I don't want it if God doesn't approve of it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. And I'll talk to him about it. I'll pray about it. Hey, if this person not supposed to be here, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, But if they're not supposed to be here, remove them. If they're not supposed to be here, let me see it. Give me the eyes. And I think so many times we fail to ask God to provide us with the eyes that we need to see. Sometimes we rely on him like, okay, yeah, God, just do this or whatever. But sometimes we need the eyes to even see it.
Yeah.
But he can do it, but you need those eyes to see.
I think people like treat God like a genie. Like it's, you don't like, that's why I said I used to treat him like he was like, I used to only talk to him when I needed something, because it was like, you would pray like, oh God, can you do X, Y, Z? And then it don't happen. And then you be mad like, oh, God isn't real, or God's not listening to me because when I snapped my fingers, I didn't see a poof into what I wanted to happen. Like, that's not how that works. You know what I mean? And I think even for me, that was the biggest transition in my own mindset that I had to make, was what was required of me in order to receive my blessings. And that's what's really I've been working on within myself this entire year, in my journey as a Christian and as an entrepreneur. Because if I look back at it, the reason I became an entrepreneur is because of God. Like, my youth program was my first business, and the reason why I started it was because it was prophesied to me that that's what I needed to do. Now, there are false prophets. So for you guys that's listening, you have to really pray for discernment too. So you know how to spot a false prophet, and know how to spot things that are of God and things that are not of God, because the devil will wiggle an opportunity in your face as well. And you think, oh, this is what I've been asking for, so I'm about to take it. But it could just be the devil trying to throw you off. But I'm going to get to underestimating the devil in a second, because that was a mistake I always made. But it was prophesied to me about that I was supposed to start a program. And the reason why I knew that this was confirmation for me was because it was something I would always think about. Like, it would keep me up at night type of thing. And it was like, when that person said that to me, it was like, I never told nobody this. So this is how I know that this is something that I'm supposed to do. And then even with that, I still didn't do nothing with it. It was just like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm about to do this though. And then the pastor who told me that had asked me like, hey, can you come up with a youth program for the girls in the church for me and email it to me? And so him doing that, now this program never happened in the church, but him doing that allowed me to take what I already knew and put it on paper and create something with it. And after that, I was like, wow. And he gave me feedback and said how good it was, etc. And it boosted my confidence. So I was like, oh, I'm really going to do this. And that has led me to where I am today. I may not still be doing that business solely, because even I think I said this when I was talking about T.D. Jakes' book one time, about how the business isn't the dream, it's just the vehicle to take you there. And sometimes, even though that particular business may not be it may lead you to it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that youth program may not have been it, but it led me to this. You know what I'm saying? So just thinking about my entrepreneurial journey, it started because God spoke to me. And I, just like you, would say prayers like, God, can you remove people who are not of you, like who are not in my life for the right reasons, etc. And every time I pray that prayer, I promise you, people start falling off. And it's crazy because sometimes I'll be like, hey, listen, I like these people that surround me, so I'm just hoping that don't nothing happen with anybody around me. But yeah, and then I also pray, because I've always been good by myself. Like, I'm an introvert, so I have no problem being by myself. That's not an issue. But I do crave relationships of substance as well, and godly relationships. So then I ask God to like send people in my life that are going to benefit me, who are a part of my purpose, and etc. And those people came. You know what I mean? And so yeah, just like you, like it came with those prayers and listening. And I think a part of really like a big part of it is after you pray, you have to actually open your eyes and ears for God to actually answer your prayers. Because I was listening to some sermon a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how I don't know. I always tell y'all I'm not a Bible scholar, but it was somebody in the Bible was praying the woman had got a word that she was going to be pregnant and the son was going to be great. And she told her husband. So her husband prayed like, God, can you show me? Because I want to see for myself type of thing. Mm-hmm. But then God sent the same messenger that he sent to the woman again. But the man wasn't paying attention. So then he was like, well, I prayed for you to show me again. But he did. He just wasn't paying attention, so he missed it. And so that's important as well. When you pray certain things, like you got to actually open up your eyes and ears. What in the world? Sorry, y'all. You have to open up your eyes and ears to receive what it is you're praying for. And I was actually, as you was talking, I was flipping through like my prayer book, and I'm low key sad because I'm coming to the end of it. I ordered another one, so I don't have to like stop any journaling days. But in the very beginning, I put like sticky notes on all the pages that I received word from God on, so that I can go back and revisit them. And so something I wrote down in the very, very, very beginning. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. So this was like in October of 2016. And I was writing the things that I'm believing God for are a husband, a successful business. I put full-time entrepreneur in parentheses, and financial freedom. And what I journaled, I wrote, in order for me to receive what I'm believing God for, I need to prepare for it. The last thing I need is for God to bless me with something and I blow it. Preparation is key. I need to establish discipline and establish it now, because all of the things listed above require maintenance. And it's not going to be enough for me to just receive these. I'm going to have to work to keep them. So this is something that just I wrote to myself. And when I journal, I like to find like scriptures that kind of back up what I'm saying. And so the scripture that I have wrote down was Proverbs 1:28 and 29. And it says, my phone, I put my computer on Do Not Disturb, I promise y'all. And I know it's going off because the devil's trying to distract me. But in the scripture I wrote down, when they cry for help, this is what God said in Proverbs. He says, when they cry for help, I will not answer. Though they anxiously search, they will not find me, for they hated knowledge and chose not to fear the Lord. And so what that kind of meant for me in the beginning, when I first wrote that down, was that there's a responsibility for us as Christians and as entrepreneurs. Like, we may pray, but there's still a level of obedience. There's still a level of listening. There's still a level of sacrifice that's required on our part in order for us to receive what we're asking God for. Like, he's not going to give us something that we're not prepared for. But a lot of times we want to skip the preparation phase because it's so much work in preparation. You're terrible with money, but you want God to bless you with a 6-figure business. But you didn't go through the pain of learning how to deal with your money now and learning how to manage your thousands or your hundreds. But you want him to bless you with millions. Like, it really doesn't work like that. Or you're not good to people, but you want to bless him you want him to bless you with a business with all of these clients, but you're not even nice to people you meet on the street. You know what I'm saying? So you talked about like the sacrifices you made as far as getting like your hair done and your nails done, but were there any other like sacrifices that you feel like you had to make in order for you to receive like the things you were praying for?
So there's so many things that I felt like were important and weren't. Like, people don't realize the things that we do in life that are so like that represent greed and represent certain things that goes against, God. Mm-hmm. So one thing was like me and clothing. Like, when I say I was a shopaholic, like, I mean, everybody loves clothes. But I had like this really, really bad addiction. Like, all I wanted to do was shop, do stuff like, shop, my nails done, get my hair done. So everything that was so, so important to me that I was doing literally just fell off the face of the earth. The last time I bought clothes, guys, was just for my photo shoot, and that was for business. But as far as like for a personal thing, like, I just want this clothing item, not like I could say my birthday, because that's like when I was like, I want this because it's my birthday. But other than that, no, like, I stopped spending money on pointless things. Like, I became very, very cautious of money and what it needed to be utilized for. If it's not really utilized for my business and planning for the future, as far as moving and buying stuff for my home and buying stuff, paying my bills and things like that, then it's not going to get spent. Like, it's not going to get spent on anything meaningless. Because clothes is such a materialistic thing. You know, these things are so materialistic, and we get caught up in materialistic things that we sometimes block our blessings when they come. So the materialistic aspect of everything I was so focused on, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't really need new clothes. I have clothes in my closet. Cool. And then I gave away a lot of my clothes. So now my closet looks very, very skimp. Like, when I say very skimp, I be going through shirts and looking like, okay, I know something else about to pop up because I have more clothes than this, but it's not there because I gave all of them away. Certain things I was holding on to for years, like shoes and stuff that I probably wore one time or probably never even touched. I just got up one day and I was like, yeah, I'm giving all these shoes away. But you could have never told me that last year. I would have never thought that, I was getting rid of those things because I was so attached to them. Mm-hmm. So the attachment that I had to certain things and a certain lifestyle, I got rid of. And that's important because if I'm asking God to put forth all of his energy and his care and his hands on this business, I have to. Mm-hmm. I have to put my all into it. Not even just like my focus, my mind, but the things that I'm spending and wasting money on. Why are you not putting that in your business? You wanted God to put his all and everything into it, right? So that's the part of your all. Mm-hmm. So those things started happening. And then the letting people go piece. I had, like you said, he's showing you, but you got to pay attention. I had to start paying attention and really paying attention. Like, we sometimes will see the sign, we'll see it, and we like, oh, and kind of brush it off. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, like I seen that, but we say, what's the word we say? Oh, it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. Oh, it wasn't that bad. But it's not even that it was that bad. It was God giving you that sign before it's that bad. Mm-hmm. And then you sitting there later when it's that bad, all crying and stuff. Like, God, why didn't you show me? No, he did. He just trying to show you, but you weren't paying attention. You took it very lightly. You brushed it off. But you asked him to do a job. You asked him to provide you with eyes. You asked him to give you the focus. Like, you asked for these things, and you're going to ignore it. Mm-hmm. So now, if I see that little up, okay, it's so nice to meet you, so nice, and that's the certain things that I had to really, really pay attention to and really accept and allow in order to get in a certain space. And I'll talk about energy later and how I had to change my energy and the energy that I wanted around me, and then the mindset, like trying to see everything so positive, and that can be hard. Mm-hmm. Like, you have all these bills to pay, and then not out of the blue because you caused it, but out of the blue you get a $400 ticket that you got to pay too. It's kind of like you're gonna bring in these negative thoughts, but in order for God to, that, I guess you could say, take care of it, even for him to take care of it, you can't allow that negative thought to come in because you're asking him to do something positive and help you get through something, but then yet you're already negative. You're not even believing in him. So I had to really work on that negativity. And even when things go bad, it's like you still got to stay positive. And it's so hard to do. But that comes again with that spiritual aspect. Once your faith and your belief in him is so strong, you'll see in yourself that when things happen, it's very nonchalant, it's very careless. And I know my mom says to me sometimes, she'll be like, yeah, like, you don't care about nothing. You get an accident. And it's like, oh, well. And I'm like, because what can I do? I'm not going to be mad. I can't be negative. Like, of course you can be upset and like, whatever, but I survived it.
Yeah. And I think too, it's definitely about being positive and keeping your mindset right. But there's also a level of power when you're doing your part. And I think a lot of times, like I said before, we omit the responsibility that we have in order to receive God's blessings. So there's things that happen in the spirit realm, and there's things that happen in the natural. And in order for you to unlock the blessings that are happening or available to you in the spirit realm, you have to have some type of level of obedience. And with me, I had to really stop and ask myself, am I really willing to sacrifice every single thing that God has in store for me because of what I want to do? Am I really willing to not I told y'all, one of my life goals is I just want to die empty. Like, I want to give everything that I have while I'm alive. and I just want to reap the benefits of it and live my best life, period. But am I really willing to risk that because I don't want to stop doing certain things? Like, I had to really ask myself that. Like, I told you guys, like, I was very inconsistent with my relationship with God my entire life. And it was rooted in being church hurt. And a lot of people are church hurt. And that's what makes them not be who they need to be in Christ, or not be all God called them to be. Because when I was growing up, with the things that was going on in my household that I've told you guys about on plenty of episodes, the things that was going on in my household, my parents went to church every Sunday. And I'm like, I don't understand how you're at church every single Sunday, but then all of this is going on during the week, but then you want me to follow you to church? Like, come on now. That was my attitude, because it wasn't adding up for me. And even then, my mom would take me, like, when she would like leave my father, then she would go back and expect me to be okay with this situation. She would take me to church to a lady. And I remember one time, listen, when I tell y'all know I'm straightforward now. But me, like, as a youngster, like teenager, very earlier 20s, I was like, my mouth was so bad. I had 0 cut cards. I have cut cards now. I had 0 then. But like, she would take me to church and the lady would be like, the Bible says you shouldn't divorce, or I don't understand why it's not right that you don't want your parents to be together. People fight, this, that, and the other. I told this lady straight up, I'm like, first of all, ma'am, you're not a psychologist. So you're not giving me anything except for your experiences and your interpretation of what the Bible says. So you sitting there telling me how I should feel about what's going on in my household is not doing anything for me. You telling me the Bible says not to divorce, but I'm sure God don't want her getting beat up. Like, I literally told this lady this. So I was just like, I was so mad. I was going off. So then the lady, so she was still trying to reason with me. So I just got up and walked out, because I'm like, I'm not doing this. But at that point, though, like, situations like that just made me like, God doesn't want divorce, but what's going on here? Like, so he want me to be going through situations like this? Like, I allowed other people's, or I allowed my interpretation or judgment or critique of other people's relationships or belief in God to affect mine. And that was a major mistake in my life. And that's why with me, when it came to growing as a Christian, or coming to the point in my walk where I was like, I'm not about to let my own inconsistency or disobedience or not trying to grow my relationship with God be the reason why I don't live my best life, or I don't accomplish the things I want to accomplish in the earth. So when I came to that, it was like, I need to focus on building my own relationship with God, because I need to know who God is for myself, as opposed to trying to let somebody else tell me. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. Like, you find somebody who's a pastor, or you find somebody who's a leadership role at church, or find somebody who you respect that's spiritually mature, and try to use their relationship with God to be your own. But that's not what it is. It's your individual relationship with God is what matters. And God wants to have an individual relationship with you. You just have to open up your heart to him and be willing to hear from him, be willing to spend time with him and things like that. And I didn't realize that until this year, until he brought people in my life, let's say like a Tiana or anybody else who was willing to speak to me and make me do certain things to grow my relationship with God. And ever since I got committed to that relationship, it ain't about church. It ain't about how often you go to church. It ain't no scoreboard on if you a good Christian or not. It's all about your relationship. And once I decided to do that and really focus on that, my entire life changed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not even just my business, because my business has definitely changed, but to me, I'm not just a business owner. It's never just about that. You can be very successful and be very much so a failure as a person. Like, you can have all the things in the world. You can have all the money, the most successful business, all the notoriety. But if you aren't right as a person, you still fail. And something that I posted recently was excellence can't be compartmentalized. So you cannot be excellent at business and excellent at people skills, or excellent at marketing, or excellent at PR, and not be excellent as who you are as a person, or not be excellent when it comes to your commitment to your relationship with God, because nobody's going to be perfect. We ain't here to talk about that. It's just about the relationship and how that could really benefit you as entrepreneurs. And then even more so for myself, what that looked like was I had to look at God like a person and not look at God like this mythical creature. I had to look at God like the way I would look at anybody else. And when it came to my relationship with him, I had to look at it like, how would I want somebody to have a relationship with me? Will I want somebody only calling me or talking to me when they want something? No. Do I want somebody that just asks for my advice and then do something totally different than what I told them to do? No, I'm gonna get annoyed with that too. So I had to make God realistic in order for this thing to work for me. And by doing that, it's been beneficial. One of the things that I prayed is I asked God, I'm like, I'm used to only coming to you. Like, being honest, I'm used to only coming to you when I need something. I'm used to only praying when I'm sad. I'm used to making my own decisions and praying for your will to be what my decision is. Like, I'm used to that. I'm not used to surrendering. I don't know how to do that. And because I'm so used to being inconsistent, I need you to light a fire in me that makes me want to be inconsistent. Because I'm good at doing what I want to do. The reason why I ain't been doing it is because I ain't want to, if I'm being real. So it's like, I had to ask God, like, light a fire in me for you and allow me to see the results of it so that I could want to keep doing it. And once I got that honest with God, like, I don't know why people act like you got to put on your Sunday's best just to talk to God. Like, you really don't. He already knows all this stuff. Like, he don't need your help to bless you. He already knows you from the inside out. So you might as well keep it real with him because it's just going to be better for the relationship. So that's how I was. And that's what I did. And ever since then, it's just been amazing. Like, one thing that happened was, trying to give you a specific example. I had woke up one day and I had this whole plan about what I was going to do that day. I had my goals written out. I had my little to-do list. Like, I was ready. I knew what I was doing that week. And when I woke up, God was saying, don't do none of that. Go watch War Room. And I was like, what? War Room? I don't even have that movie. So, like, I was like, okay, I got the Amazon Fire Stick. Let me see if it's on there. So it was. So I ended up watching it and taking notes. Cause I'm like, if he wants me to watch this, then it's probably something in here for me. So I'm taking notes or whatever. And so, of course, that movie is all about creating a war room, praying for things to change, surrendering, etc. So I was like, okay, cool, good movie. I guess I need to make a war room. So I just was like, okay, well, I'll do that this week. So I had went to the library to get some books for something else. And I'm walking through, I'm in the business section of the library, by the way. And looking for, like, I think I was getting a book on like something. I don't know. It was business related though. And then this book called Fervent was sitting like right in front of my face. And the book Fervent is written by the same lady who starred in the movie War Room. And the book is about like strategic prayer. So I was kind of like, oh, this is random. Okay. So let me just check this out though, because if it's a reason why this book is in front of me. So I had got it. I went home. I went straight to my little war room, which is my closet, and closed the door, sat down, and was reading the book. And that book, as well as this book called Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers, are two books that I think everybody should get. And those two books just Fervent talked about strategic prayer, and Joyce Myers' book talked about Battlefield of the Mind and the devil's strategies. Both of them talked about like the devil's strategies to destroy us. Like, so we know, like in the Bible says, the devil comes to kill, steal, destroy. So, but I think one thing that I've done my entire life was underestimate the devil. Mm-hmm. Because the devil his job is not for you to recognize him. His job is to be unseen, so much so that you just fall into his trap. You know what I mean? And he just sits there and just snickers and is so excited when you mess up yourself, thinking that when you mess up yourself and not even realize that it was him that did that to you. Mm-hmm. And so that's something I want you guys to take away too, that's listening to this, is never underestimate the devil. Like, a lot of times we think that if something is bad, that's the devil. When that's not the case. The devil knows us just probably more than we know ourselves. So the devil knows how much you want this successful business. He knows how much you want this opportunity. And God may be holding that opportunity from you for whatever reason, but it's for your good. But the devil may put that opportunity in your face, and just so that it can ruin you. You know, he may put that man that reaches every single point of your little list, everything that you want in a man. He right there. He fine. He tall. He got a successful business. He got muscles. He got money. He's smooth talking, like all of that stuff. And you like, yes, Lord, you finally sent me my husband. That ain't your husband. You know, so we sometimes really, really underestimate the devil. And that's something that I did. And now one of my things is I really make sure I armor up. So even if I get an opportunity that looks like it's a good opportunity, I'm like, God, if this ain't for me, let me know. Like, I need to know what's up with this. I'm not making no decisions. I'm not saying, yes, this is something I'm going to do because I want it. I need to stop first and pause and pray about it and wait until I get confirmation from God. Because if it's for me, it's not going to go away because I decided to wait until I hear what God wants me to do. But if it goes away, then it just wasn't the opportunity for me. So we have to also have that level of understanding where we're actually waiting to hear from God. So what I wanted to ask you, though, is as you're growing in your relationship with God and you're being more obedient in things he tells you to do, in what ways do you hear from God? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle with it for a while too. Like, how do I know that if this is God talking to me? Like, how do I know that these are not my own thoughts, but this is what he wants, etc.? So what was that process like for you?
So I was telling my line sister, I'm like, I realize when God's talking to me, not because I think when we say, oh, we're looking for God to talk to us, we're looking for like a different voice with the outside of ourselves, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I'll give a perfect example of something that just happened when you sent me the passages to read. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there reading them, and I'm trying to understand them and really trying to key in on like what's going on in my life. And what's like, it got to this one point in one of the passages, and I'm like, not saying like I didn't apply to me, but I'm reading it, but I kept stopping at it. And I read that passage a few times because, I really wanted to understand. I really wanted to apply the areas that needed to my life and what was going on. So I keep getting to this part, and like I stopped, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't see how this applies, and I keep stopping here. Mm-hmm. So I keep stopping here for a reason. I'm like, okay, like, I'm like, I'm getting a little frustrated because I keep stopping, but I'm not getting it. And I'm like, I understand, but I'm not seeing how this applies. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing how this applies. I'm not seeing any of that. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, God, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, talk to me. Like, tell me something. Because at this point in time, I'm going to keep stopping here. We're going to be here all night. Mm-hmm. So I'm just looking at it and I'm not getting it. I don't feel it. Like, I just keep stopping here, but I'm not feeling it at all. So literally, of course, like I said, it's not a different voice. It's going to be, for me, it's always my voice. Mm-hmm. It's always my voice. And betrayal, it was like literally like the words of betrayal, like I heard them in my head, betrayal. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, betrayal. And when it happened, like, my heart started beating a little fast, and I thought about betrayal, and I knew exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. And where and how this applied and what it was. And then that's when I started writing down my notes and putting it to where it fit in my life. But I was stuck because I couldn't locate it. Mm-hmm. I could not locate it for sugar honey iced tea. And I'm just like, I'm not getting this. And I'm about to say at this point, getting so frustrated, I'm gonna move on because I'm not getting it. So I stopped myself for a second, and I'm talking to God like, okay, please tell me. Like, because I'm not getting it. Like, I'm really trying to sit here and dig deep, but I need you to talk to me. We need to have this conversation because I'm not seeing how you're trying to apply this, and you keep having me stop here. Clearly, you need me to see it and understand it, but I'm not getting it. Mm-hmm. And he didn't tell me everything. It was just I needed to know that one thing. And it was like, okay, I gave you the hint. Like, if you don't get it this part, maybe you're not seeing it. But when he said that to me, I'm like, okay, got it. But for me, like, it's always those times when things are happening or I'm not really thinking too deep into it, and people are like, well, yeah, I heard him talk to me. But that's because you're talking to yourself. It's when my mind is the clearest. Mm-hmm. And I'm really like not thinking too deep into stuff. It happens. Like, I could have prayed on it and then not think about nothing, not focus on that. It comes. and he'll be talking to me. And like I said, for me, I don't hear a man's voice. I don't hear any other voice. It's always my voice, but that's him talking, into me. That's him talking like, hey, to me. And that's, like you said, he's not, you have to really think of him as a person, but that's how he is to me, in person. Like, it's not going to be anybody else's voice, because that's when you're making this, what you say, superficial creature or mystical creature or whatever. Yeah, mystical creature. You're going to create something that you're going to create this whole other thing. That's not it for me. I always hear myself, but like I said, it's when it's in the clearest, and I've talked about it, I've prayed about it, and it's like, okay, he knew at what time he needed to come and have this conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's when my mind is the clearest. So that's when it happens for me, and how it happens, and in what form.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much the same way. I either, it's definitely in my voice. I feel it though. Like, I feel God's presence a lot. And I feel when God speaks to me, it's in my voice as far as what I hear, but I can feel it in my heart. And God also speaks to me through other people. So I listen, but that's why it's important to have people who hear from God around you, because God will then use people. Like, God doesn't, I say this all the time because he told this to me, like, God doesn't need your help to bless you. He will put exactly who needs to be put on your path. You just need to pay attention. A good example of this is I was meeting with some people, I'm not going to say who, a couple weeks ago. And one of the girls was just like how she the whole time she was talking about how she had like a headache or her stomach was hurting. Like, you could tell something was off, but I didn't really ask, because I don't really be trying to get into people's business unless they open up to me and tell me. But so you could tell something was wrong with her. But then, like, towards the end, she was just saying, like, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just so stressed right now. I don't know how I'm going. Like, it was something that she had to pay. And she was like, oh, I don't even know how I'm going to pay this. I got to pay it tonight. So that's just on my mind, because I'm just looking at the clock. The clock is going this, that, and the other. And so now, listen, I'm a giver. I'm definitely a giver, but I just don't be giving people money. Like, I don't do that at all. I really don't just be like, you get $1, you get $1. I don't really do that. I prefer to give, like, my time, things, stuff like that. So just writing checks is not my business. But as she was talking, I heard God say to me, give it to her. And I was like, excuse me. Okay. So then I asked her, well, how much is it? And she told me how much it was. I was like, okay. So I was like, you need it tonight? She was like, yeah. So I was going to PayPal it to her, but then I was like, no, because then it take like a business day for it to get into your account. So whatever. So when we were out, it was I bank with Wells Fargo. It was a Wells Fargo right there. So I was like, all right, when we leave here, we'll just go to the ATM. I'll give it to you. Don't worry about giving it back to me or whatever. So we went to the bank. I gave her the money, and I was telling her, I'm like, listen, you need to understand that this is not me giving you money. So don't be like, oh, Tatum gave me money, or, I'm so thankful for Tatum. This ain't me, because I wouldn't have given it to you. Like, not being harsh, but that's just not something that I do. I would have prayed with you, but I probably wouldn't have gave you the money. But so this isn't me. Like, this is God. So take this as a lesson to understand and realize that God will use other people to bless you. You just have to pay attention, but you also have to understand that you need to seek God more. You need to build a relationship with God, because you wouldn't be having these problems. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be having these problems if you would listen to the things that God has been telling you and actually taking heed to it. But anyway, that's kind of an example of how God will use other people to bless you. And I'm not worried about that money. Like, even if I needed it for whatever, I know for a fact that I'm going to be blessed because I was obedient. But when it comes to hearing from God, though, that's how I hear from God. Like, I feel it. It's to the point where it gets my attention because I feel it. And I'll just take heed to what he says, or he'll speak to me through other people. So Tiana's one of the people who talk to me a lot. So she might call me and be like, hey, you was on my mind today. You all right? And it may be something that I might have been going through that I didn't tell nobody about, and I might talk to her in that regard. Or one of the major things is God showed me something about my year in 2018 that I only told like a couple people who are in tune with God enough to where I feel like I am safe with them. But it's something that he revealed to me that's going to happen for me in the new year that I can't personally fathom, to be honest with you. So when it happened, I'm going to tell you it was all God. But she called me and was like, yeah, so remember you said that, this, that, and the other? And I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, that's going to happen. And I was like, boom, that's all I need. Like confirmation. Confirmation is a big thing when it comes to hearing from God. It's okay if you don't trust the voice yet. It's because your relationship probably isn't at a certain place yet. And that's okay. Relationships have to be built and maintained. You're not going to just snap your fingers and y'all are going to be BFFs. So that's why it's okay to wait for confirmation. So confirmation comes in a form of you may be listening to this podcast and being like, oh, that's for me. Or people, when I posted on Instagram, it's like, oh, that felt like that was for me. Or you may be watching something on TV and it may be something that don't stand out to anybody else, but it stands out to you. Those things are confirmation. So you have to keep your eyes and your ears open for confirmation. But you also have to understand too, when God tells you a word or he tells you something that's for you, the devil is immediately going to try to come and discredit what he said. So it's important that we are armored up as Christians and entrepreneurs with the things that God says. That's the reason why I have sticky notes in my prayer journal, because for me, my love language is words of affirmation. So it's easy for me to forget, let's say, how amazing I am, or it's easy for me to forget that God told me this. So I put sticky notes on them so that I can go back and every day and be like, this is what he said, this is what he said, this is what he said, this is what he's done. So it's constantly on the forefront of my mind. But when you're new and building up that relationship with God, you have to really protect yourself. So you have to sometimes take social media off of your stuff for a little bit, because the devil might use somebody else and put them in your face, and now all of a sudden you're insecure again, or you get caught back into that comparison game when you were so pumped up about whatever God gave you. Automatically that's gone. Like that's the devil's job, is to mess stuff up and to mess it up in a way that we don't realize he's doing it. So in order for us to be prepared to fight against that, we have to armor ourselves up in the things that God says and stuff like that. It's something else that I've been doing. So I want to talk to y'all too about like some practical stuff. So I know it's easy for us to talk about our journeys and talk about the things we've had to change and talk about our personal relationships and things like that. But I think it's really important to talk about practical stuff. So as far as practically, my relationship with God is on Mondays, I fast every single Monday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Y'all know I wake up at 5, so it ain't like I'm sleep till 12. I'm up at 5. Sometimes I eat, sometimes I don't. Like I just really don't be hungry that early. But I'm up at 5 from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I don't eat anything. I don't really work on Mondays. We may record the podcast. I might like answer emails and stuff like that, but I'm not like really doing anything. But just like reading my Bible, journaling, watching different sermons. Because for me, I can't just open up the Bible and stay there all day, because my mind gonna go somewhere else. Like even if I understand what's going on, my attention span is a little short. So I have to like change up my methods. So I'll like watch a sermon, and then whatever scripture they brought up that resonated with me, I'll go and like read that one. But anyway, so every single Monday I fast. Every single day I pray in the morning. So I just thank God for what I have. I always write down what I'm thankful for, what I'm asking God for. And then that's it, pray and then go about my day. Before I make a decision, I pray about it and I wait for confirmation. And to be honest with y'all, that's one of the hardest things for me, especially as an entrepreneur. Like we're problem solvers. If there's a problem, we try to find a solution. But when you really surrender your business and you surrender your life to God, you give up control. And control is giving up control to somebody that you can't physically see is it's a hard battle. That's why you really have to make sure your relationship with God is strong, your beliefs are strong, etc., because it's not an easy thing to do. So for me, I have to really be intentional about not making decisions yet. So like there's something going on right now that was irritating me, but I'm not going to do anything. And it's so hard for me not to do anything. Like, I'm just like, you know what, God, I'm praying for it. This is my fasting day. So I'm fasting for it, asking for clarity, confirmation, next steps, what it is I need to be doing next to deal with this so that I don't mess it up. And I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait. And it's very hard, but it's something that you have to do. And that just shows your level of commitment to God. And one thing that God told me last Monday on my fasting day was, for this month, I need to just rest. Now, resting may seem easy to most people, but for the ambitious, resting is not easy. Like, rest, what are you talking about? It's a new year coming up. Like, I need to make sure my stuff is this. I need to do that. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. It's a never ending to-do list. Like, I got stuff to do. What you mean rest? But when you rest and you let God do the work for you, then you're able to, you build up that trust. And that's what God wants me to do, to rest so that I can build up my trust in him, so that I can be okay again with really letting him have control of my business. Something else that I do is I tithe. I tithe 10% of every single thing that I make. When I looked at my contribution receipt the other day from the church that I tithe to, within like a 45-day span, I gave them over $1,000. I was looking like, excuse me? Like, what? I could use that $1,000. But that's just what you have to do. And I know Milan brought up, like, when things come up to attack your finances, the way that you protect your finances is by tithing. When you give 10% of everything that you make, you're protecting your finances. God, the devil won't be able to bring up them random tickets, to bring up those random fees or whatever, whatever type of attack on your finances doesn't happen, because you're tithing, you're protecting your money, and you're tithing off of the gross. And a lot of people, we can get into a debate off of what do you tithe with money? Do you tithe with whatever? I tithe with money. 10%, no matter what I make. If I make $10,000, he's going to get $1,000. If I make $50, he's going to get $5. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to tithe 10% of it. So you can, but when you look in the Bible, like, there are promises to you when you tithe. You know, when you give, it's given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, runneth over. So when you tithe, you have a certain power in your prayers to hold God accountable. When you are obedient, period, you are able to pray with a certain level of power that you haven't had before. Because I can tell God, like, you know, I need this or whatever. Like, I tithe. So in your word, you said to test you. So I'm testing you because I did X, Y, Z. So you're able to hold God accountable when you're obedient. Another thing that I did this year, let me see, I actually wrote them down because I didn't even realize how much I did in order to receive the blessings that I'm receiving now, and in order to see the things that's going to happen in the new year. Another thing that I stopped doing, and this is a little super transparent, is having sex. And celibacy is something that I tried before. I'm going to be honest with y'all, and it did not last, because obviously sex is an enjoyable thing, right? But again, I had to check myself and be like, is this one thing important enough for you to not get everything that God has in store for you? And that's how I test. That's the question I always ask myself when I'm struggling with something. And my answer to that was no. Sex is not more important than for me to reap the blessings that God has for me to reach the people that he wants me to reach. Like, God already told me that the people are going to come to him as a result of my walk with him, or I'm going to impact millions of people. Like, these are things that I know. So I don't want anybody else's life that may come in contact with me or may look up to me in any way to be affected because of the things that I'm doing when nobody's watching. I'm not one of those people. Integrity is a big deal for me. So I have to make sure I'm doing the right thing at all times, because I don't want to miss my blessings. And I also don't want anybody else's life to be affected by a selfish decision that I've made. So those are like some very practical things that I had to do this year. And it's been so difficult. So difficult. If I was to tell y'all that being a Christian and a business owner is easy, I would be lying to y'all. Being an entrepreneur is hard by itself, but being a Christian on top of that is difficult. It is so difficult. But I definitely wanted to talk about that with you guys so you could see, like, these are the things that I've given up. Milan's given up different things, and our businesses and our lives are going to be blessed because of it. So I don't know. I was going to end there, but do you have anything else you want to add, Milan?
No, you're absolutely correct with everything she said. I did have something, but it was regarding when you said when you talk to God, and you just have to thank Him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we miss it so much just to even take a time to pray to just thank Him. So make sure you guys are doing that. Like, don't just, wait till you lay your head down at night, thanking for the day. Randomly out the day, thank Him, because you didn't have to make it past another hour. Whatever just happened that may have been a blessing in your day, thank Him at that moment. Don't wait till the end of the day to thank Him. Take that time to pray. It's never a set time to pray. I think we think that we're supposed to pray when you wake up, go to sleep. Pray all the time. Pray often. Take a second to yourself. If you're feeling defeated, pray. Pray. I can't say that enough. Just don't wait until, like Tatum said, things get bad and you decide to pray, or you want something and you decide to pray. Just take the time to thank Him.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay to be honest and be like, God, I don't know how to pray. Like, talk to God. I talk to God the way that I talk to anybody else, for real, because that's just the relationship. So I'll be like, hey, God, listen, I am struggling with this. Like, I tell God straight up, like, you told me to rest, but I need my business to be in a certain place. Like, I want to start off the year correctly. Like, I don't know what rest is. What am I supposed to do? I feel lazy. I feel like a bum. I feel like I'm not outworking anybody because I'm not doing anything but maintaining my business. Like, why do I have to do this? I don't like this. Don't think that you have to like what God tells you to do. You just have to do it. I'm a prime example. I be going kicking and screaming all the time. And one thing, let me find it actually, because this was recent with the rest thing, that I went into my war room and I just sat down and I was just like, everything that I pretty much just said was my prayer. And I was like, God, this is going on in this situation. I want to act on it. Everybody keep asking me, or whoever I told. I think I didn't really tell anybody, but like maybe 2 people. But one of my friends brought it up, so I had to tell them. But so they're like, oh, what you going to do? What you going to do? I'm like, God, I'm trying to figure out what people keep asking me what I'm going to do. I'm trying to be still, but I feel stupid, like this, that, and the other. And God was straight up told me, like, you're not trusting me. The fact that you're even asking me these things shows that you're not trusting me. Because if you were to actually trust me, you'll be able to rest in the fact that you ain't got to do nothing. Like, there's a level of confidence that comes with trust. Like, and that was a chin check for me. Like, all right, you're right. I ain't got to worry about this. So I'm going to trust you for real and take my hands totally off and take my mind off of it. Because what happens if you leave your mind on it too long, you start convincing yourself of other things, or you start making yourself think that you should do certain things. So, yeah, and there's other things like you could ask God about. It don't have to always be deep either. Like, it's things that I might contemplate on. So I might be like, all right, God, it's these 2 office spaces that I want. Like, which one? And He'll tell me, like, all right, cool. When am I going? Should I move into this one? Do it this time. Okay, cool. All right. So this opportunity is coming up, or this is something that I have an option to do. Should I do it? And then just wait. Like, you can ask God small things like that. It doesn't have to always be deep, but I really want you guys to really understand the importance of your purpose, the importance of what your life means. Like, we all have a purpose. We all have a reason why we're on this earth, and all of our purposes have something to do with somebody else. And so it's important that we make sure that we become the women, the men that God called us to be, so that the other people don't suffer. Like, something else that God has told me about my life is that I'm going to be the one to deliver my family. Like, I talk about my family all the time, but and the things that we've gone through, but I try to be very intentional about not disrespecting or putting them down, like trying to objectively discuss things that I've gone through, because I know my family is going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with and being who God calls you to be, and it's going to be the last thing I say about this, but really being who God calls you to be requires you to really not just do things that you're uncomfortable with, but do things that you just emotionally aren't there yet to do. So perfect example, I've told y'all before that my father's in jail. So right when I left my job because God told me to. right when I left my job, maybe like during that time period when it was my notice was already in, was when my father was going through like sentencing. I think he had like 2 sentences around that time. So then he ended up like he ended up actually going to jail in like August. So during that time period though, like I was rightfully so upset, because it's like, of all these things that we've been through, all of the daddy issues I've had to overcome, all of the work that I've done on myself to even be in a place to talk to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? To even be in a place to be in the same room with you, to even be in a place where I don't hate you, is like a lot for me. So for me to even get to this place and you still let me down, you know what I'm saying? So, but it was emotional for me, because it's like, why do you keep letting me down? It takes you back to an emotional place when people that you care about hurt you. But when you're called to be better than that, or when God tells you certain things, like, it's your job to, let's say, deliver your family, you have to still pray for people in situations like that. Despite how I feel about anything that happens in my family, I have to still pray for them. Despite if me and my mother's relationship is strained, I still have to pray for her. I still pray for her every single day. I have like a list of things that I declare and decree on every single day. And my family is probably half of that list, because I understand that God has called me to do certain things. And a lot of times your purpose is something that is heavy, and it's something, and I'm telling you guys this because I know it's going to help somebody. I don't like to talk about things about my family, but I know that a lot of people, the reason why you aren't excelling in business and the reason why you aren't getting to a place that you want to get to in your life, in your business, is because your family, is because of the unforgiveness that you still have inside of you towards your family or people that have hurt you that you care about. And in order for you to really be who God called you to be in this earth and to reach the level of success that you want to reach, you have to, one, forgive them, but you also have to pray for them. And you have to really allow God to speak to you about what to do in those situations, because it is so freaking necessary for you to do that. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be emotionally draining. I promise y'all, like, it's emotionally draining for me. But one thing I know is that if God gave me these callings, so for me, I'd be like, God, you telling me not only do I got to deliver my family, not only am I going to deliver my family, but you mean to tell me that I'm also going to like impact millions of people, or I'm also going to be this big influential person in this world? I don't want to do none of that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be rich, happy, on my winery in seclusion, minding my business. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be doing that stuff. But I know that because it's the calling on my life, I can handle it. And I know that if I can handle it, you guys can handle it as well. So we're going to wrap this up here, and we will holler at you guys next week.
Yeah.